also with reports of Lamar Jackson saying, hey, defenses are calling out our plays. Well, that's because you guys run the ball too much. People know you run the ball every first time. And so
we could talk about, Marquise Brown. We could talk about Jason McCourty and Stephon Gilmore. The fact of the matter is, Hollywood Brown has not been producing this season.
Starting, I'm going to go with J.D. McKissic. Here's a fun fact. Since week 4, there's only been one running back that's gotten more touches than him, and that's Alvin Kamara.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 10 within the Indecision Cave. I am your host, Ryan Grayson. I am joined by, 6 of my league mates. We're going to go around the horn real quick, say what up to everybody. We got Justin Just Blaze rocking the Dreamville, our resident intellectual. Justin, how are you today, man?
Oh, it's regular. It's Wednesday. I'm chilling.
There you go. We got Mahan doing his best Lord of the Sith impersonation today. Aunt Mahan, how are you, man?
Sensational.
Eugene got his Carson Wentz in the background. Man, I know you're a fan, but he's been a little off lately. What's going on?
That's all right, man. The Wentz we trust. I'm here with a smile on my face this week, enjoying my win by 0.3 points. I'm feeling, would you say, Mahan, sensational? Yeah, that's where I'm at this week.
0.3 point victory. We're going to 0.4 point victory. We're going to go to the gentleman who lost to that one. Joe, how are you feeling today, man?
1-8, baby. Feeling good.
No one's ever been so excited. Rashawn has joined us, ladies and gentlemen. Rex, how are you, bro?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Rashawn, how do you, can you give us a little insight real quick, just the first nugget of the show? CMC, is he playing or what?
He's out. He ain't playing. He's done for this week.
Okay. And how long are you expecting him to be out beyond this? Is this a 1 weeker or what?
It's a shoulder, so I'm gonna go with 2. I don't think he'll be back next week.
There you go. Hopefully, whoever has Mike Davis in our league, I know he was put on the waivers. Who ended up landing him?
I did.
Great job, Rashawn. Way to keep it in the family. And Ashton, how are you, brother?
hey, man, I just want to say happy veterans to all them veterans out there. So happy Veterans Day. Outside of that, Deli's Chubb, #belly meat. We doing well out there. Be happy. We excited. That's my team name. What y'all want from me?
To not be called deli meat. So
Yes,
Ashton, yeah, whatever. Way, bro. That is miserable. Ashton, we're going to stick with you for a second. So the deli meat is facing off with the deli chubs or the deli in general. I don't know, man. But walk us through week 10, you versus Antoine, please.
So I faced the team that my team name is dedicated after, which is Deli, a.k.a. Antoine Relaford, which actually the AKA is actually his nickname. So switch that up a little bit. But we're fighting for our playoff lives. We're both 4 and 5, I believe. He's 11th out of that whole conglomerate of people that are 4 and 5. So this is a big week for both of us. I'm right now at 7th. So win this week, one will get me back at 500. Hopefully the people above me lose. I believe there's one person that's 5 and 4. They play each other. So if I win, I move up to 6, depending on points. So it's a really big matchup. Right now, he doesn't have a defense in, which is really weird. And he also doesn't have his best receiver and his only tight end, which is Julio Jones and Hayden Hurst, as they are on a bye week, and they are on the same team. So, I mean, I'm looking pretty good. He gets Nick Chubb back. So he finally gets his Chubb. But we don't know how well Nick Chubb might be. So I'm hoping they kind of limit him, allow Kareem Hunt to do a little bit more. And I hope David Montgomery continues to be David Montgomery. So
there you go. So, I mean, right now you're projected to win the matchup by about 30 points. It's looking like 136 to 106. And aside from Nick Chubb, it seems like you have the advantage at all positions. Is there anything that has you nervous about your team in particular? Maybe not this week. It seems like you should be able to get the victory. And as Justin said last week, this is one of the lower teams in the league. But in general, looking at your squad, where do you see your holes, or what are some things that scare you as you get ready to make this push to 500 and beyond?
Honestly, I say my biggest scare is this week. All 3 of my potential RB2s are questionable right now. Antonio Gibson's dealing with a shoulder injury. Damian Harris left the game Monday night with an injury, but we have no idea what that is. So he's questionable. And Chris Carson hasn't played football in 2, maybe looking like 3 weeks. So he's going to be running this week. And so I'll have more of an idea of what it would look like by Friday. But all 3 of my RB2 slot running backs are some form of hurt. So hopefully Dalvin Cook can continue to score at the pace that he is scoring, where it can kind of outdo me having to have a dud at my RB2 position. But outside of that, my squad's pretty solid. Dalvin Cook playing well is kind of hurting Adam Thielen, but, I mean, he's going to get me some form of points. Even if it's just 5, it's better than 0. And I've gotten that from Russell Gage before. So I think I have a squad that can win. The only squad that I'm, like, really scared to play is probably the Auntie Anthony's if Zeke gets back to what we think he is, and the Hartford Hamstrings, which is also my roommate, Officer Higgins, because his squad is ridiculous.
Nasty.
Yeah, no, his talent is probably second to none in this league for sure. We're going to throw it to Rashawn just because you highlighted on his team, and as we look at his squad, Rashawn, we know your team is fully loaded, especially once Zeke starts to perform like Zeke. But you have a big matchup against the trust the processes, and they're 1-8. But we saw that Joe's able to put together a tough team week in and week out. What do you see going into this matchup as some reasons that you could pull out the victory with? You're projected to win by 15 points, but Lamar Jackson is always a wild card. So what do you feel going into this matchup?
I told my guys this week, be prepared for anything. Just because Joe's the underdog doesn't mean, it's an easy win. I think I have a couple of tough matchups for a few of my guys. And I know he has Lamar Jackson go against the shoddy Patriots defense. So like you said, it could be scary. Depending on which Lamar Jackson we get, he can put up 30 or he can be a dud and put up 10. So I'm going up, with my head high and, hope my guys come ready to play this weekend.
Yeah, Rashawn, I'm looking at your roster, and this week in particular, you have three of your starters, at least the way it looks right now, going up against Tampa Bay's defense. And obviously last week we saw Tampa has some holes in it. And actually the last 2 weeks they haven't looked great. Pretty much since they smacked my Packers, they haven't looked as untouchable as they were. But Mike Davis, Robbie Anderson, and Curtis Samuel all up against the Bucs defense. Is that something that you're worried about, starting that many Panthers against a strong Bucs squad? Or are you at the point where these are the guys that are going to make the plays, we're gonna ride it out for the Panthers?
Right now, Robbie Anderson is one of Teddy Bridgewater's favorite targets. And the numbers have been there for Robbie. Right now, Curtis Samuels has been that Swiss Army knife, especially with CMC out. So he's been getting those touches in the backfield. He's been getting those targets out in the slot. So I think he's going to continue to see those numbers increase. And Mike Davis is Mike Davis. He's a beast as a running back. He's also get those check downs when Teddy's in trouble. So I think those three Panthers will produce. I'm not saying I'm going to start all three this weekend, but it's a possibility that you will see three Panthers started in my lineup.
For sure. The last question that I want to throw to you before we go to your opponent, Joe, is that DK Metcalf, obviously a must start, right? Like, we're not questioning that. But they're facing the Rams, and Jalen Ramsey is essentially a shutdown cornerback, right? Like, I mean, some people have good games, whatever, but he's a stud, all pro caliber player. Are you nervous about that? I'm not saying not to start him, but like, just as a football fan, your knowledge of the game, does that scare you at all?
No, I'm a Florida State guy, so Jalen Ramsey's my guy. He's a phenomenal corner. You saw last week against the Bills, DK went against Tre'Davious White. Tre'Davious White shadowed him the whole game. He still had numbers. I think DK will still put up those numbers. It may not be the 30+, but it'll be in the 20 range. There
you go. Okay, so your squad is well positioned for this victory, or for this game rather, as long as the Bucs play as they have the last few weeks and DK shows up. I really like your chances, but I'm gonna go to Joe. And Joe, I'm looking at your squad, my man, and despite the fact that we've talked pretty, like, we've talked junk about it, understandably so. You're starting people that are legitimate starters. You're not really starting too many threes or fours. You're starting two number one running backs. You have two number one wide receivers. But it looks a little scary going up against Rashawn this week, man. What do you got going for you this week, and how can you make it competitive, you think?
It really points back to your discussion points earlier. There's only one football that can cross the goal line, and you have three Panthers on the offense. So if they have a struggle game, if Bridgewater isn't feeling hot that day, they could struggle. So that's three pieces that I'll definitely be watching the Panthers game with you, Rex. And that Metcalf, I didn't even realize that matchup is coming up. And you think about just their prototypes. Jalen Ramsey, he's a big guy too. He's one of the bigger cornerbacks in the league. That's a shutdown. He matches up well, at least physically, with Metcalf. So that's just great football right there. I don't care what the outcome is. I'm excited to see what that's going to be. Mike Davis, he's going to be my sit on the later segment, and I'll touch on that later. The last piece that could help me win is Mr. Jordan Reed, his tight end. And we know how he hasn't been able to stay healthy, not only get on the field, but stay on the field when he plays games. Right now, he's the 40th ranked tight end on the year. He had one blow-up game for 24 points in week 2. The other weeks, 3 points, 4 points, 1 point. So I have a shot.
Yeah, and you definitely found ways to stay competitive despite making all of these trades. One other thing that I want to hit on is that the Packers linebackers, the way that they play defense, obviously, they bring two up, and it's the two Smith brothers rushing the quarterback. They pretty much only play one linebacker in the middle of the field. And I thought last week with that sort of matchup and the 49ers being decimated with playmakers, that Jordan Reed was going to have a real shot to kind of produce. And we saw Richie James obviously go ham. But Jordan Reed putting up 1 point was not something that I was actually expecting.
Rex, don't let that dissuade you from starting them, please. Start all three Panthers and Jordan Reed at the tight end position.
Don't worry, Joe. Don't worry.
There you go. Ashton, we're gonna. Oh no, Ashton, we've already spoken to you. I apologize.
No. Let's continue to come to me. Come on.
No, we're not going to. We're going to go to Eugene last before we hit a commercial break. Lean, my man.
Me and you, baby.
Yeah, I know. And I didn't really want to talk about it. That's why I came to you last. I want to sit and talk about your squad outside of this matchup. And the reason that I'm saying that is because I don't know if my squad's going to win or not, but we're down our 2 starting running backs, down our number 1 wide receiver for the second week in a row. We're 4-5, and things aren't looking good in New Bedford, despite it being a home game. But I do want to talk about the fact that you're 5-4 this year. You're making noise. You got a lot of good Packers players, and you're projected to beat me by 40 points. So that's why I don't want to talk about my team. We're going to focus on your squad. So, Eugene, let's say you win this matchup, or even let's say you lose this matchup, right? You're still in the hunt. What do you like about your team? What do you like about some of your players? And what are some things that you could do to position yourself to make a run later on in the season?
What I like the most about my team is that I'm getting value, above average value, from places that I don't want to say I didn't really expect it, but I didn't expect to be able to lean on, right? I'm getting consistent points from positions like Travis Fulgham. I'm getting consistent points from positions like Chase Claypool, people who I thought I might be able to plug and play at different points in the league, depending on my matchups, but have proven to be, a drop pass or two away from being matchup proof, honestly. So I'm excited. I think there's room, I've got some space to fill, or some holes to plug in the running back position. But from a wide receiver perspective, I think we're pretty sound and poised to make a pretty strong push. Like if I'm fortunate enough to meet the projections and blow you out by 40 points this week, which I hope we do, we'll be sitting at 6-4, and I could rest a little bit easier.
Bro, I don't know what you're talking about because a lot of people would kill for your running back situation. Have Aaron Jones and James Conner and have
But after that, but Joe, talk to me. After that, where
we
am I
don't need
sitting?
after that there, E. That's that's James Conner. Like, as the RB2, like, that's fire. Like, good on you. And A-Rob, not a bad piece.
I will say I'm happy that outside of last week being a huge outlier for James Conner, you guys weren't really happy with me when I took him at the top of the second round. You guys were not happy with me when I took him at the top of the second round.
Let's go. Remind us, E.
But with the way the running backs have shaken out during the course of the season, we would all kill. If I didn't have James Conner as my RB2, I would kill. I would absolutely, possibly put together ridiculous trades to get a sound running back on my team at this point in the league, because our league is so tight. Everyone is so good. We're all so astute that we pay attention to everything. I think there's 4 or 5 of us who are 5-4 in the league. The race is so tight. But I just want to add that in that, okay. I know my running back depth isn't great, but I am blessed to have James Conner at my RB.
Hashtag blessed.
Your third running back is Leonard Fournette. I'm very confused.
Okay, Ashton, but without the past 2 weeks, I've been waiting all season for Leonard. We're about to be in week 10, okay? And now he's finally playing dividends. It's not like I've been able to throw Leonard Fournette in my lineup and say, hey, yeah, somebody else is on the bye week. Don't worry, I got Lenny Fournette. That hasn't been the case.
I mean, that would probably happen twice this year with a bye week to either Aaron Jones or James Conner. Maybe Aaron Jones also being hurt. But
this past week, I absolutely had to play Leonard Fournette. He got no rushing attempts and got me 10 points. I won by 0.4.
That's a matter of the Bucs wilding. Like, the Bucs ran the ball 4 times. They violated their running back. Like, they violated. That's an outlier. That's ridiculous.
Justin is not happy about that at all. And so just to highlight our league real quick, we have Justin in first place, 7-2. We have our friend Banks, who's been here a bunch of times. He's 6-3. We have Joe in the basement at 1-8. We've highlighted that a bunch of times. But the other 8 teams vying for the other 4 playoff spots are all 1 game apart, 4 at 5-4, 4 at 4-5. So we have a lot going on these last few weeks within the Indecision Cave. We're going to take a commercial break. But as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, we have 2 more guests here. Our host, the winner of all winners, Just Blaze, and Aunt Mahan. They're our matchup of the week. So when we get back from this commercial, we'll dive into their Week 10 matchup within the Indecision Cave. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indecision Cave, and it is one of our favorite sections of the show where we dive into the matchup of the week. And I think after his complaints, I believe he's gotten, is it 4 straight weeks that we've talked about Justin? At least 2 or 3. Just Blaze, 7-2, league leader against the Sith Lord, the Mahan DeLorean, Aunt Mahan, 5-4. One of the teams competing for that 6th and final playoff spot. He's a little bit higher than that, but a loss puts him in a bad situation. So, Justin, we're going to start with you as the host and as a member of this show, best record, all-time winner. You look at Mahan's team. I know you're not scared of anyone, but talk to us about what you see there and how you're going to find a way to get a W.
Looking at his team, it's a pretty solid team. It's going to should be a slobber knocker this week. He has one of the top fantasy quarterbacks this year, Kyler Murray. I was actually targeting him in the draft this year. I wanted to get him as a backup, but I couldn't get him. He has Derrick Henry, his Goff potential. He has a pretty good, solid flex situation. He has one of the top tight ends. So the team's pretty good. Nothing to slouch on, but we'll see what happens.
Slobber knocker. That's what you wanted to go with?
Good old-fashioned slobber knocker.
Everybody knows what that means.
So, Justin, I'm looking at your squad, and I know you like to use the element of surprise or whatever you've been known to call it. You have Pat Mahomes in your lineup this week, despite his team being on a bye. You have two quarterbacks, Matt Stafford or Drew Lock. But even if you add those scores projection-wise, you're still going in as a heavy underdog, right? By about 18 points either way, probably like 10 to 15 points either way. Are you nervous? Like, is this a week where, like, because Pat Mahomes is out, that you could see some real trouble, or are you still in the driver's seat?
I mean, I think I'm not too worried about Patrick Mahomes not being out because I've won without him being one of the main contributors for the week. Just looking at this situation, I feel like whichever quarterback I pick, as long as they give me, I would say 20 to 22 points, I should be good for, if not a win, at least a close matchup. So that's my only concern this week. But between the both of us, we have, I think it comes down to 3 games: the Denver, Las Vegas game, Indianapolis, Tennessee, and Detroit and Washington. So whoever you like out of those 3 matchups, that's pretty much who's going to win this matchup.
There you go. And of late, we've seen A.J. Brown really come on strong. But he is facing the number 1 fantasy defense in the Indianapolis Colts. They have some strong cornerback play. Obviously, great front 7 to put some pressure on Tannehill. Are you expecting a big game out of A.J. Brown, or are you a little nervous about that?
No, I just expect AJ to do his numbers. Ever since he's been playing, up to his health, he's been pretty consistent for me. Last week he went off. That was pretty good. But yeah, I think it just depends on Indianapolis's approach and scheme. I don't know if they want to focus more on stopping Derrick Henry or if they're trying to stop their passing game. So depending on what they pick is who's going to be the prevailing player out of that matchup.
And obviously, from your side, you're hoping they focus on the run game.
Right.
Of course. Mahan, so you're looking at Justin's team, 7-2, and I'm sure once you take it off the mute button, you'll be able to tell us some of your thoughts heading into your Week 10 matchup.
So, yeah, looking at Justin's squad, first and foremost, yeah, I know there's a caveat of him having Pat Mahomes in the starting lineup currently on bye, which obviously is going to change. But, I just don't take anything for granted because last time I was up against somebody that was projected to put up over 100 points or a little over 100 points. I got destroyed. So, especially, given Justin's record, looking at his squad, Alvin Kamara, weekly must start. James Robinson, weekly must start, especially with, Green Bay's run defense. A.J. Brown, weekly must start. Like, aside from once you get to, the tight end territory, flex, there's maybe some give or take there, but the people that are from running back to receivers, like his RB1, RB2 running receiver 1, receiver 2, all solid, all weekly starters. So yeah, if I could tackle the league juggernaut and hand him a loss, that'll definitely give me a lot of momentum. I definitely need to win as many games as I can to guarantee a playoff spot. 3rd seed right now, just looking to keep that momentum rolling.
Of course, and I mean, like we've been saying all episode, you're 5-4, tied with a bunch of people, but you've scored so many points, man, that you're atop the 5-4 rankings. So just you're probably going to make the playoffs. Let's talk about your team a little bit. Can you talk about some of your star players and some of the impact that they've had to get you to this position?
Well, first and foremost, I got to start with Kyler Murray. I did get a lot of flack in the draft for taking Kyler when Dak was readily available, and I think Dak will come back stronger next season and prove all the doubters wrong. But Kyler's rushing upside was just too much to pass on in the draft, and I'm definitely reaping the benefits of that. Josh Jacobs, could I have went in a different direction in the first round? Probably, but in a league where running backs, especially starting caliber running backs, are so rare, I don't really regret picking up Josh Jacobs because especially when you're in the playoff stretch and you're looking at your bench and you see 2 very capable, or sorry, not 2, but at least 1 capable starting running back. It's a league of depth and it's a league where every win from this point on matters. So I think I'm built to make it to the playoffs. I hope that I can just keep the momentum rolling, like I said.
Yeah. One thing that at least at the end of last week, there was some questions about Kenny Golladay. and if he was going to play. I think those might be put to rest, but he's been a little bit nervy from an injury standpoint. Do you think you have the wide receiver depth or the flex depth to make a run if Kenny Golladay isn't able to go for any amount of time?
I mean, looking at my lineup, I mean, Jameson Crowder's on bye. Darius Slayton is hit or miss. Jonnu Smith is facing a tough Indianapolis Colts defense this week. Darrell Henderson's facing the Seahawks, who are more built for the run than they are for the pass. I could throw Jacoby Myers in, but the Ravens defense is pretty solid. You know, there's nobody that I could swap in for Golladay with confidence, but, you know, stranger things have happened. You know, we'll play it by ear. We'll stay kind of keep our ear glued to the injury reports, how Golladay is doing, what's his status is heading into the game, and then we'll figure it out.
Yeah, Mahan, one thing that I found interesting about your team, just overall, before we kind of go around the horn and vote, is that you have been able to consistently start 2 tight ends week in and week out. When you were drafting this team and putting it together, was that something that you thought you would be able to do, or was it just a matter of like a product of the system sort of thing? They both, Jonnu Smith and Waller, played so well that now you're forced to do that, or did you pick them thinking, hey, this is what's going to happen?
Well, Jonnu Smith, I think I've said this in a couple podcasts. A lot of reports were very high on him coming into the season. He was projected, you know, to be a steal in the draft. And, you know, as the draft got more and more, I mean, Darren Waller, surefire, I had to get him. You know, there's a lot of people who are against picking tight ends before like the, say, 7th and 8th round. I think Darren Waller is somebody that if he's available, you grab him. But Jonnu Smith, he's been doing very well for me this season. I didn't project him being maybe a top 10 tight end, but, you know, in a league where, especially just in general, where tight ends getting good production is very, very, very rare. Having Jonnu Smith in my lineup where he could be a starter if anything happens to Darren Waller, or he could be, you know, another flex, whether it's, you know, say something up for Devontae Parker or DeAndre Swift. I can place him anywhere in my lineup and still, you know, hope for at least 110 points.
There you go. Awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck. Justin right now is looking like he's poised to get to 45 wins before the season's over, which would just be the trailblazer of all trailblazings. So let's go around the horn real quick and let's weigh in. Who do you got, Ashton, Mahan or Justin?
Dang, you had to come to me first.
Because I know it's personal for you, man. You got your cousin against the guy who you don't want to win, but he's nasty.
I don't want Mahan to win. Like, I need to get into the playoffs, so I'm hoping he loses. Justin could stay at the top. That don't hurt my chances. And so just off of the sheer brute of I am needing Justin to win, I'm probably going to pull a Eugene of last week and go against the grain and pick Justin.
Aha.
All right, so who's house goes for Thanksgiving? Because it won't be Ashton's.
Not going to Auntie's house for Thanksgiving. Eugene, we're gonna throw it to you next, man. Who do you got this week, Mahan or Just Blaze?
Well, I learned from last week, thanks to you. You gave me the formula, Ryan. I want to give you all the credit. Whoever we pick is the one who's going to lose. Mahan, I don't need you getting any more victories, baby. So I picked Mahan to win this week. Mahan, listen, handle business in spite of not having Jamison Crowder. He's going to take care of all of the business for us this week. Wow. And send Justin to 7-3.
Jeez.
That's that juju.
The reverse jinx.
Schuster, baby.
Rashawn, who do you got this week, man?
I'm in the same boat as Ashton. You know, I need Mahan to lose. I think the last few times I was on here, Justin was the matchup of the week. I went against Justin. There's an old saying in Tennessee, it's probably in Texas or wherever, that says, "Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again." So my winner is Justin.
Wow.
Justin picking us win. Shout out J. Cole for that one.
Just Blaze.
Dreamville. You hear?
Blaze St. Patrick is getting a lot of love today. Trader Joe, who do you got this week?
I have no skin in this game because I'm 1-8. I don't care who wins or loses. So man, Mahan's team, if fully healthy, I would have went with him. But that Godwin health questions with his finger, and Galladay with the health questions. I'm gonna have to go with Justin. It's a tiebreaker for that.
There you go. And I'm going to break the tie, and I'm leaning towards Mahan. The Mahan DeLorean, man. I just think Kyler Murray's going to have a big game against Buffalo. I just don't see him being stopped. Just he's too talented right now. It's like this is his year to shine, not MVP shine, but he just does it all. He's whipping the ball around. They always show the highlights where he just looks like a bad little kid running away from his parents. He's just so fast. He's so shifty. And so I could see him, despite Buffalo being pretty solid, putting up another 30 points fantasy-wise, 25, 30 points, which would be crazy. I think Derrick Henry is going to have an okay game, not a great game. I really like the Colts front seven, so I think he's going to struggle a little bit, but he'll still get some big carries, big totes there. So I'm leaning towards Mahan to get to 6-4. Yep, 6-4. Get Justin to 7-3 and be one game out of first place when we get to talking about Week 11. So, folks, we are going to take a commercial break, and when we get back, we will talk starts and sits within Indecision. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indecision Cave Show. We're in the middle of Week 10, and we're going to hit you with some starts and sits as you get ready to put your lineup together before all the games this Sunday. Joe, we're starting with you, sir. Who are you starting and sitting this week?
My start is Jerrick McKinnon, running back for the 49ers. I think he was third, might have been third in the depth chart to start the year. With Raheem Mostert still on IR, he tried to push the coach to let him play. I think the coach already ruled him out. Tevin Coleman, I believe at this point, is doubtful. And we get another shot to see what he can do. The past 2 weeks, he's giving you double-digit points. If you started him 13 points, 15 points, I think he'll do the same. So I think he's a good plug and play. Just monitor those injury situations. My sit is actually the running back that my opponent will be playing against me, who I had and dropped a week or two ago. And he even tried to trade for him and then changed his mind. But Mike Davis, running back for the Panthers. Dude started off on fire when I first dropped, I think it was like 80% of my fab on him. Let me see if I can pull him up real quick. He scored in those weeks 23 points, 22 points, 29 points. But since then, it's been downhill. 11 points, 8 points, 8 points, 8 points. And this is in a full PPR the past 3 weeks. Of course, last week he had to split it with CMC. But still, those 2 games before, only 8 points. So I'm not sure if the defense have been playing them differently. I'm honestly not sure what's going on. But I think you can't expect that same high that you got when you first had them. And, of course, I'm rooting against him because my opponent has him. So that's who I'm sitting this week.
It sounds like there's some silver lining there, Joe.
Oh, what's that?
You said you dropped him after spending how much of your fab on him?
80%. So I used him and let him go.
And you said last couple of weeks he had how many points?
8.6, 8.7, 8.7.
How many losses do you have?
8.
Oh, wow. That's
thanks to you.
I was just connecting the dots.
Right.
My bad.
Right. Thanks, E. Yes. Yes.
We're going to go to Joe's opponent now. Rashawn, who are you starting and sitting this week, sir?
So I'm starting this one player that our commissioner, Ashton Jones, told everybody to sign in the last podcast for waiver pickups. Curtis Samuels. Ashton definitely took a shot at me because every time I don't start Curtis Samuels, he has gone off on my bench. I think Joe Brady is doing an awesome job finding ways to get Curtis Samuel involved in the offense. I think that's going to continue. Like I said earlier, they're down CMC, so Curtis Samuels can play running back, he can play receiver. You line him up anywhere that he's going to get open. They're going to find him the ball. My sit is Hunter Henry. You would think that a rookie quarterback would rely on a tight end heavily, but Justin is not playing like a rookie quarterback. So he's been spreading the ball around. He's been going to his number one receiver, his number two receivers, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. He just hasn't had that connection with Hunter Henry since week 5, I believe, and Hunter Henry's been faded to the background. So my sit is Hunter Henry.
There you go. Just Blaze. Who are we starting and sitting in week 10?
All right, this week, I'm gonna start with my sit. My sit is gonna be Melvin Gordon. We've been seeing regression for Melvin Gordon's touches, at least for the past 3 weeks, and we've been seeing a lot more Philip Lindsay love out of that backfield. So I'm gonna say, if you're dependent on Melvin Gordon, good luck, man. But I would sit him if he had a better option. Starting, I'm going to go with J.D. McKissic. Here's a fun fact. Since week 4, there's only been one running back that's gotten more touches than him, and that's Alvin Kamara. On top of that, we got Alex Smith starting, one of the check down kings in our era. So I would say definitely want to put him in your lineup. If not, second RB, definitely a flex.
I like it. Thanks for that little tidbit. I didn't know he was second in touches behind Alvin Kamara in that span. Lean, what's coming to you next, brother? Who are you starting and sitting this week?
I'm going to keep this one simple, man. It's not about yak yards. It's about coming down with the ball. My man Travis, full-grown man, Fulgham. Carson Wentz's favorite and most consistent target. Fresh off the bye week, baby. It's time. We're playing the Giants. We get to shake the rust off. You know, leading my meager little division, the NFC least. I think he pulls enough balls down to at least put you in that 15-point range and cover. For my sit, last week was cute. I like what Jake Luton and D.J.Chark did, but against Green Bay this week, I think they're ranked number 5th against the pass. I don't see it happening again this week. D.J.Chark has been somebody who we all probably thought coming into the year would be somebody you could really count on week in and week out based on his rapport regarding the Minshew and the rate that he was catching touchdowns last year. But last week was, 146 in a tutty. Nobody's arguing with that, but I don't think the same thing happens with this week. And I think your squad, those green and yellow boys bring the pressure and quiet all that noise down.
Wouldn't it be by default his favorite receiver because you guys only have one receiver anyways?
I mean, we got Jalen Reagor back. Rashawn Dallas Goedert is also back.
Yes,
we like to spread the ball around in Philadelphia. I know you guys just got Robbie Anderson, and now you guys are like handing the ball up to your receivers like Curtis and doing cute stuff. But we like to share the wealth. You see that picture behind me? You see that guy right there?
I don't know, man.
That boy walking to him? Yes, sir.
Once he's been
yes, sir. Travis, full-grown man, full.
There you go. I'm gonna go start and sit with the backfield in Tampa. We are going to start Lenny Fournette, and we are going to sit Ronald Jones. And if you look at their snap counts, if you look at the amount of time they've been on the field after Ronald Jones, again, whatever the Buccaneers were doing to get ready for the Packers game, if they do that every game, they're going to win the Super Bowl every year forever. But since that game where Ronald Jones rushed for over 100 yards, I think he had 26 fantasy points that week. He's just losing snap count week after week after week. And Bruce Arians, he's pretty much Andy Reid. Right? Like you make one mistake, or even Bill Belichick, right? Like these guys have the quick trigger on getting you off the field. Excuse me. And so I think Rojo is someone that has been losing his value these last 3 weeks. And I think it's tough to start him. Leonard Fournette not only outsnapped him for another week, but he's at least being used in the passing game. And I think that the Bucs, with all this talent in the passing game, with Gronk, with Brown, with Evans, with Godwin, they're just going to go aerial assault, right? When they throw the ball like this, or when they throw the ball, not many teams are going to be able to keep up with them. And until Leonard Fournette is not the pass-catching back, I'm going to start him over Rojo.
Well, wouldn't he attribute it to him being like a nickel running back, wouldn't he also see more snap counts because the Bucs have been either down or in close games of late? So that's why you would see Leonard Fournette in the game a little bit more.
Yeah, I was going to ask the same thing.
So that's what Bruce Arians said about what Leonard Fournette would be. So a catching back.
Like a third down back, basically.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. For those who don't know the terminology.
I thought you were talking about like the band nickel guy.
No. That was out of Bruce Arians' mouth himself. And so they play Carolina, and Carolina can't hold a running back even if they were to hug them. So, I mean, I would say this would probably be the game where Ronald Jones would want to get back to the Ronald Jones of past, but who can really trust anyone in that Buccaneers backfield, to be very honest?
There you go. And you might be right. But I'm going to sit Rojo again because, like you said, you can't trust either of them. And if they run the ball, maybe he gets the carries, maybe he doesn't. He's shown me in the last 3 weeks that he's not Arians' favorite. So I'm going to go with the other guy this week. But I am going to stick with you, Ashton. Nope. We're going to stick with you, Ashton. Let's go.
I'm gonna just say one last thing. They rushed the ball 4 times last week. Ronald Jones had 3 of those attempts. Just saying.
But how about the snap counts for the running backs in general?
No, I'm just saying. You said he doesn't trust him rushing. I'm letting you know that 3 out of the 4 was Ronald Jones. But you can continue.
They don't trust running. If they ran the ball 4 times, they ain't trusting the running backs, and that's what Ronald Jones does is run. How do you
and they were behind. I don't get it. What are we not getting here? You say you don't trust him rushing, but I said all the rushing duties was primarily him. But we can move past it. We can go on to my side.
It'll be interesting to see.
It was 4 rushes. It's not like they ran the ball 40 times and gave him most of them. It was 4.
Right, but there wasn't a split. It wasn't like
that
2
is a
Leonard,
legitimate
2
coin.
Ronald. Literally 3 out of the 4 rushes was Ronald Jones. And one
It's
of the 4 rushes,
It's
one of the 4 rushes, I think,
That's
was a
not
Tom
fair.
Brady kneel. I think they considered Tom Brady's kneel at the end of the game a rush.
Holy Toledo.
Just want to let you know that.
That's ridiculous.
Just giving you stats. That's all I'm giving you. But go ahead.
You're trying to make it seem like out of 4 rushes, that's dictating who the bell cow is.
At the running back, a bell cow? I'm going to let you look up the definition of bell cow for a running back versus like a nickel back, and then we can go from there. But let's get to my starting sets.
The band.
What? There you go. Ashton, you're wrong, but go ahead, please.
I'm not. A bell cow is someone who runs the ball a lot, who you hand the ball off to and allow you to wear out teams.
Okay, so
Leonard
if
Fournette is their nickel.
4 times, then you don't have a bell cow, so it's a matter of a coin flip who gets the carries.
Who has more rushing attempts on the year? I'm confused.
I'm sure he has. Fournette.
Oh, so who's the bell cow?
Neither of them are bell cows. Justin, please, is Ronald Jones a bell cow?
He's more likely to be the running back for us than Fournette. I mean, right now, what they're doing is trying to do more of a spread offense. So Fournette going forward would be someone to pick up because
Respect.
get more.
Thank you, Justin. Ashton.
What are you saying thank you to? You said that Leonard Fournette was the bell cow. You're literally like flip-flop.
I did not say Leonard Fournette was the bell cow.
Flapjack. You're a flapjack. You're a pancake.
I did not say that. That's a lie.
He said neither. He said neither one of them is a bell cow.
No. What he was saying was he said Leonard Fournette is more of the bell cow in that offense. And I said,
no, I did not.
Look up the definition.
No, that's not.
I did not
what
say
he said was, hang on. What he said was sit Rojo in that because Rojo got 3 out of 4 carries, he was not the bell cow. He didn't say Leonard was the bell cow. He said his sit was Ronald Jones. And that
we'll just play it back.
We can definitely.
Ronald Jones.
Yeah, we can play it back. I was just really stuck on Ashton calling Leonard Fournette a nickelback. I don't want you talking about a defensive.
Ashton, please start and sit.
Yeah. But I'll send you the quote of what Bruce Arians said.
I don't hear what Bruce Arians says.
I'm quoting the coach. I said Bruce Arians.
But that's Coach Rex. That's Coach Rex.
Coach Rex ain't in the NFL. All because he doesn't know what a nickel running back is doesn't mean like I should vote on the way he says. Like he's not the coach of Leonard Fournette. But anyway,
I want to be the coach of Leonard Fournette.
Hopefully, this isn't a preview how your household is going to be at Thanksgiving. Like this is.
Oh no, it's usually at Mahan's house anyway, so it ain't here.
Invited.
It's not.
It ain't here. All right, so I'm gonna go with my starting sits, and honestly, folks watching, don't go with my starting sits because I've been wrong so bad. Last week I said D.J.Chark was a sit, and I was thoroughly wrong. I couldn't be more wrong. The man had 12 targets, 7 catches, 100-something yards, a touchdown, maybe like a fool. So by all means, people listen to other people like Ryan, because I honestly would pick Leonard Fournette over Ronald Jones before. Arguing purposes, I just wanted to argue. But anyways, my sit of the week, Joe Mixon. He plays the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are ranked 26th hardest defense against running backs. That's allowing 15 points per running back, and him coming off of injury and for some reason Giovanni Bernard still being a part of this offense, it's hard for me to really trust Joe Mixon. And that Cincinnati Bengals offensive line continues to put me in question. I do believe they made a trade to get an O-lineman, but I usually try to stay away from any running back that plays Pittsburgh. So obviously I'm not saying, hey, sit him, because I'm pretty sure you won't have any better options on your bench to sit a Joe Mixon unless you're Kyle, who has Chase Edmonds just on his bench. But someone that I would say hamper expectations on, and someone that I see that isn't as high of a value as their projected rankings are, that would be a Joe Mixon.
Is he even guaranteed to play? From my understanding, he didn't even practice today. Yeah.
He's questionable.
Today's Wednesday, so it's hard, yeah.
As the Bernard owner, crossing my fingers.
Oh, he's trying to get that dub this week.
Yeah, come on, 1-8, man. 2-8 ain't bad.
My man, he was sweating last week. Well, he was chilling, but like lightly sweating. It was a cold sweat. You lose to Joe.
Mostly because I sat Aaron Jones.
Yeah, bro, but come on, man. Joe also sat. Who did Joe sit? Tony Pollard?
I don't care.
It don't matter.
In the first round, you got to start him.
Facts. No, you're right. My start. People might not agree with this. I'm honestly going back and forth on it as well, so I'm gonna just put a little caveat. If Stephon Gilmore does not play, I see Hollywood Brown being someone that you would want to start. If you saw what happened to the New England Patriots this past week and what Brashad Perriman did with Joe Flacco, he went off. He made Jason McCourty look foolish on just deep balls. And we all know Hollywood Brown is a deep threat. Also with reports of Lamar Jackson saying, hey, defenses are calling out our plays. Well, that's because you guys run the ball too much. People know you run the ball every first down. And so I say, and they throw the ball middle of the field. Like, teams know that. And so I think this week they try to expose the New England Patriots secondary, try to do something a little different to kind of get a little bit more spark in that offense. I do believe if Stephon Gilmore doesn't play, you can feel comfortable starting Hollywood Brown. If Hollywood Brown does have Stephon Gilmore, I'd probably say start someone, and I hate doing starts and sits with some of my own team, but look at Will Fuller. He's on a touchdown streak. So someone that could at least give you a touchdown with some receptions behind it, I would say look to start Will Fuller out of the two really good receivers that you see out of Houston, Texas. So that's a mouthful.
Mahan?
So we can, I'm glad you came to me, Ryan. So we could talk about, Marquise Brown. We could talk about Jason McCourty and Stephon Gilmore. The fact of the matter is, Hollywood Brown has not been producing this season. Like, he's had like a few good games here and there, but every week, just reading every report is like, Marquise Brown has been a week-to-week buy low candidate. Brighter days are ahead for Hollywood Brown, and we're in week 10. And he really hasn't produced like that. I feel like at this point, we're going off of name value with Hollywood Brown and what he can do versus, what he has done. With Greg Roman, Ashton brought up a good point with Greg Roman that, Lamar Jackson pointed out that Greg Roman was calling the same plays. But this isn't the first time that Greg Roman has run into this issue with having a mobile quarterback in his offense. Same issue happened with Greg Roman and Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. And Colin Kaepernick wasn't terrible from that point on, depending on who you talk to. But, we have the same problem here, and I don't think it's going to get much better. I think defense is going to continue being the anchor for the Baltimore Ravens going forward. And no receiver in that offense has looked like a standout at all. It's like this is Lamar Jackson. It's primarily Lamar Jackson's team on the Baltimore Ravens offense. You don't really feel comfortable starting anybody besides Lamar Jackson. And if you picked him in the second round or third round, where he was going to a lot of drafts, you don't feel as comfortable starting him as if you got him in like, later rounds. So, that's Lamar Jackson, but back to the subject at hand, the Hollywood Browns, my sit. Starter, definitely Jared Goff. He's not somebody that I'm starting personally because Kyler's a no-brainer at this point. But this is as good of a week as possible to start Jared Goff. Looking straight from a fantasy points perspective, the Seahawks have had no more than 6 fantasy points to their defense. They have allowed at least 20 points every game this season. A lot of games this season, where Russell Wilson's production is coming from, DK Metcalf, so on and so forth, it's been coming because they've been having these offensive shootouts to keep in the game. And I think that's the same thing we're going to see between the Seahawks and the Rams. Jared Goff is definitely a couple tiers below Russell Wilson. But, with that just abysmal Seahawks defense, I expect Jared Goff's pass early and often to the likes of Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, hopefully Darrell Henderson. But,
yeah. Well, fellas, we gave a lot of good information about start and sits. I think when we have multiple guests, we get to bless our fans with a lot of good takes, a lot of good information, and even some arguments for the sake of arguing. I just want to go around the horn. Does anyone have anything they want to say? A lot of head-to-head matchups on the show this week. We got Joe versus Rax. We got Eugene versus me, which will be a cakewalk. And then we have the matchup of the week, Mahan traveling to Just Blaze out there in Hartford. Fellas, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I got something. And producer, let us know how much time we got because this could go on. So we know Ryan is not a fan of the quarterback Lamar Jackson for the Ravens, but he has Marquise Brown in his starting lineup every week. So why do you feel comfortable starting? If you don't think he can throw the ball accurately, why do you feel comfortable starting him every week?
I don't have enough depth to start anyone else.
That's it. Okay, well, I guess that's simple enough. Your team's not good enough to.
It's as simple as that. You watch Lamar Jackson week in and week out, miss the big throws, miss the open throws. He's fantasy relevant and a fantasy dime every week because he's great at running the ball. Right? He's still the best running quarterback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So from an NFL player and from a fantasy standpoint, the guy's awesome. But when I need a quarterback, I'm screwed because Marquise Brown is not getting the love because his quarterback doesn't throw particularly well. So that's why I think it was like 4 weeks ago we were on the waiver wire. We brought in Cole Beasley. We brought in Brandon Cooks to kind of give ourselves some depth. And when everybody's not on their bye weeks, Hollywood Brown will 100% be the wide receiver that's on the bench for my team. No doubt about it. Right?
Okay.
We have Ridley, we have Boyd, we have Cooks, we have Beasley. We just signed Aguilar. So Hollywood Brown is like that makes him 6 on our list. And honestly, if Julian Edelman shows any sort of resemblance to who he was, then Hollywood Brown's number 7 on our depth chart. We've run into some issues where Edelman's injured. We've had some bye weeks.
Well, you started Brown when Edelman was healthy week 1. Ridley was healthy week 1. Tyler Boyd was healthy week 1.
You didn't hear what I just said? I said if he shows any resemblance, then he will pass him in my depth chart. He has not, so Hollywood will be above him, yes. If he shows any resemblance, I will put.
Okay, that wasn't spicy. Thanks, Ryan.
No spice, man. We don't have enough depth with our bye weeks to allow for that kind of thing to happen.
Yeah, you starting Gus Edwards, fam.
You're gonna walk away with a victory, man. I'm in a bad place, man. I have 3 running backs, right? And actually, in all due honesty, even if Le'Veon Bell hadn't left the Jets, I think the Jets, Falcons, and Chiefs are all on bye weeks this week, which means I still would have had no running backs for this week to start. So it would have been ugly no matter what. But it's just like no CEH, no Gurley, no Calvin Ridley, no chance at a W.
You won't hear a peep out of me because last week I faced Joe and I didn't even win by a full point. Okay, So
Can we stop
until
bringing this
next
up?
Wednesday,
You know, it's still recent. It still hurts. It still hurts.
Fantasy, bro.
It's
That's
all
how I
love,
go.
baby. It's
I
all
did
love.
want to give someone props though. Someone traded for a running back that now is the running back 4 on the league. In the league right now, James Robinson.
I wonder.
Thanks for asking.
Man.
Wait. Before you do that, Joe,
Yeah.
don't make it seem so one-sided.
For sure.
What?
No. We
DK is one.
Because DK and Deontay have been going off. So
for sure. But we a lot of people thought it was one-sided. So I just wanted to cover the other side to say, hey man, like that's legit.
I'm not gonna lie. Just when you first made that trade, I was like, what the hell is my boy doing? I don't understand. DK Metcalf is crazy and James Robinson is on the Jaguars. But you're sitting at 7-2 and you're reigning supreme, brother. Don't question. I just learned not to question it, you know?
Appreciate it, man. Foresight, that's all. Yeah, I know, Ashton. I know.
Ashton, do you have anything to add, sir?
He doesn't.
I don't, but all right, cool.
Just let it happen. It's all right.
Cool.
Well, fellas, as always, we want to thank you for joining us. We want to thank our fans for tuning in. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them. Any comments, feel free to reach out to us on social media. We're always receptive, trying to make the show better. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next. Okay, Joe, yep.
Where can they find us on social media?
At Indecision Cave on Twitter. We have YouTube. That's where you guys are watching the show most likely. And then we have a Facebook page at the Indecision Cave.
And
So
if you have any comments, anything negative to say anything. Please chime in.
we love the positivity. We love the criticism. It's only going to make our product better. We just love fantasy football, and we hope that our takes help you get a little bit better at fantasy football. It hasn't helped me. I'm struggling, but that's why I'm the man that hosts the show. We'll be back next week within the Indecision Cave.